I grew up playing outdoors a lot to pass time. I didn't do any sports or anything, I just needed a stick or some rocks and I would be entertained for hours. Every time I went outside, I had to tell my mom because it's dangerous for a 5-year-old to roam around in the middle of the street, but one day I just didn't tell her and left. I didn't go that far, I just hung out at the side of my house and built a mini fort out of sticks and grass. And of course, eventually my mom realized I was gone and started searching the whole house for me. And soon enough, I saw her sprinting towards me like a crazy person. She yelled at me and told me that she thought I was missing and was about to call the cops. But my fort turned out pretty cool, so it was worth almost giving my mom a heart attack. A lot of the time, I would just watch my friends play soccer and basketball, and I would just sit on the grass. They also climbed trees whenever we hung out, and I really wanted to do it, but I had no upper body strength. I'm just gonna hope I never end up in a situation where I get chased by a bear or something and need to climb a tree to survive. Wait, give me a second. Speaking of trees, one of my friends had this swing on their tree, and to use it, you had to launch yourself using your feet on one side of the tree, and it would swing you to the other side in a circular motion. So if you missed a landing, you would full body slam into the tree trunk, which is exactly what happened to me after my third try. I was okay though, but I got a small scratch on my knee. But I'm surprised the branch didn't break. Every time I see a swing in someone's front yard, it's always on the weakest looking tree branch that looks like it'll fall over any day. Okay, now I'm gonna go on the topic of camping. Personally, I don't know how people enjoy going in the middle of the woods, get a million mosquito bites overnight, and leave smelling like smoke for 2 days straight. I'm perfectly happy staying in my room with a comfy blanket and playing one of those fireplace videos in the background. But every once in a while, I forget what a pain camping is and decide to do it again, and it's a constant repeated cycle over and over. I should have learned my lesson the first time I went camping, which was in my very own backyard. My dad found an old unused tent in the garage, and for some reason I thought it would be super fun to camp out in the back for a whole night. But with my sister, of course, because I was scared of the dark. I may or may not have been 15 at the time of the story, but let's not talk about that. So while I built the tent, my dad started the campfire. That night, we cooked steak and potatoes, and that was the first time I actually felt like I was in the wild, like I was a hunter from the Stone Age, even though we bought prepackaged steaks and potatoes. But anyway, after eating that scrumptious meal, it was time for the classic snack. Look, s'mores taste good and all, but they're one of the most annoying things to eat. The melted marshmallow and chocolate always got all over my hands and mouth, and it would actually make me go insane. So instead, I just opted for straight marshmallows, and I would absolutely torch them until it was completely burnt. I think yours is done. No, just a minute longer. Anytime I did this, people would judge me for it. Meanwhile, they put their marshmallow over the fire for a good 5 seconds. Based on the scale, the ideal marshmallow has to be at least a 4. Otherwise, you'll bite into it and it'll be completely raw. Anyway, when the night arrived, my parents went inside the house and it was just me, my sister, and nature. Inside the tent, we had 2 small sleeping bags with 2 inflatable pillows attached to them. After blowing them up, I laid down and immediately felt uncomfortable. The bottom of the tent was so thin, it was the equivalent of sleeping on dried grass and rocks. But I couldn't just give up because I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't go back inside the house until the next day to truly test my wilderness skills. I felt like I was on one of those survival shows, except instead of getting money, I would get back problems and bug bites. The whole night, I heard this one owl making the most annoying noises ever, and the wind also started blowing really fast. So when I woke up, I felt extremely sleep deprived and was sore all over my body. When I finally gained full consciousness, I realized that I was completely alone. Apparently, my sister gave up Naivit halfway through the night and went back inside to sleep in her bed. That was probably a good move on her part because I caught a cold right after. But at that moment, I remember being so proud of myself that I survived the whole night. Being outside so much meant I also came across a lot of wild animals. I lived in the suburbs, so it wasn't like I saw cool snakes, toads, or kangaroos. It was mostly just squirrels, birds, and lots of bugs. And most notably, roly-polies, or pill bugs. I used to lift all the largest rocks in my neighborhood just to find these, and watch them roll into a ball. I was deathly afraid of bugs, but these bugs were pretty chill. Probably because they didn't have freakishly creepy looking legs, and they reminded me of miniature armadillos. I even brought one inside the house, and when I showed it to my sister, she told me they were poisonous. So I chucked it out the window and started manically scrubbing my hands, thinking that I was gonna die at any second because I touched it. Of course, she told me she was joking right after, and I didn't talk to her for a week. There were also a few times where I made direct eye contact with a fox and an opossum, and in those moments, I stood dead still and prayed they wouldn't eat me alive. But there was no animal I was more scared of than geese. These birds are the epitome of evil. When I was at the park, there were these 2 geese sitting in the middle of a trail. The female goose was laying on its eggs, and the male goose was patrolling around and hissing at every person it saw. including me. And if you know anything about these kinds of geese, you know that they are not afraid of anything. So even though I was way taller and bigger than it, the fact that it started charging me with no hesitation made it even scarier. So let's just say geese aren't my favorite. Also because I kept stepping on their poop. Okay, I've realized that all these stories so far just ends up with me being scared, but I have one where it actually ends in a happy ending. So the upstairs bathroom in my house had this window that showed the side of the roof. And when I looked outside one day, I noticed something was laying there. It was a baby squirrel and it was still alive. So I started screaming at my dad to rescue it, and he agreed, frankly, because he just wanted me to be quiet. So he put on garden gloves, climbed up the ladder, and walked across the roof to the squirrel. By the time he got down the ladder, he had pee all over his shirt and the baby squirrel. We put it inside this small cardboard box with a blanket inside and some peanuts and put it next to the giant tree where we found it. The next day, the box was empty. I still don't know what happened to it to this day, but I'm assuming that the parent squirrels took it back. Hopefully. Overall, going outdoors was so much fun, and I should probably spend more time outside now instead of staying in my room all day. Maybe I should try climbing a tree again. I did it! Give me one more second.